Eyes on the board, squad. Except today, the board is yours. By the end of this briefing, you will open, manage, and close your first trade, and you'll do it in the only order that keeps recruits alive. The right size, the right shield, the right exit. Because here's what nobody tells a recruit. Most first trades are dead before the click. They die at the size. This is your first trade, fall in. This is the Forge's training screen. The numbers on it are round and fake on purpose. This is the range, not the battlefield, but the layout. The layout is universal. Learn it here, and every trading screen you ever open, spot, perp, anything, reads like a map you've already walked. Zone 1, the chart. The price's story so far. It is a history book, squad, not a crystal ball. Zone 2, the order book. Every buyer and seller standing in line right now, and the price they're standing at. This is where the market actually lives. Zone 3, the ticket. The only zone that spends your money. Every field on it gets filled deliberately before anything gets clicked. We'll load it together in a minute. Zone 4, the positions panel. Empty now. Once you're in a trade, this is your dashboard, your vitals, your dog tags, 4 zones, 1 map. Now, before we touch the ticket, we settle the thing that decides whether you survive. Beginners pick a direction. Survivors pick a size. Write that on your canteen. Here's the math the wasteland runs on. Sim numbers, $100 of collateral. At 3x leverage, the market has to move against you roughly a third before your position is gone. At 20x, about 5%. At 100x, one bad candle, you're not trading anymore. You're flipping a coin with extra steps. So before direction, before entry, before any of it, the size. The pattern every old soldier I know shares. Size it so one full loss stings and teaches and changes nothing else. A sliver of the stack. Never the stack, and never money you need for the real world. Rent money doesn't trade, that's not an order. Your rules are yours, it's just the only pattern I've watched survive. Today we run 100 sim dollars at 3x small. Boring, alive, that's the point. Now the ticket, field by field, first margin mode. You remember the briefing, cross ties your whole stack to one trade, isolated fences the fire. $100 in the fence, the fire can only burn what's inside it. First trade, squad, always isolated. Second, leverage. The slider goes to stupid. Aster will let you crank it to 1001, even Aster tells you don't. We set 3. The slider stays boring today. Third, direction. Long if you think it rises, short if you think it falls. The sim coin sits at a nice round 100,000. Today's a training run, so we go long not because I know. Nobody knows. Because the drill needs a direction and a survivor needs practice more than a prediction. Look at the ticket, size, fence, 3x long, every field deliberate. Now your hand can move. Your hand's on the trigger. Hold. Here's exactly what happens the second you click, because a soldier who knows what the trigger does never flinches at the bang. 2 ways to fire. Market order, you take the line's price right now. Fast, certain, and you pay a whisker extra for the speed. Limit order, you name your price and wait in the book like everyone else. Might fill, might not. Training run, we take the market. Clicking. You're in, eyes on zone 4, your dog tags. Entry, 100,000, the price you got. Size, 300 sim dollars, your 100 times 3. Mark price. The fair price your fate is judged on. Remember the briefing. The chart can lie, the mark decides. And there, the red line. Liquidation, roughly 67,000. The cliff edge marked on your map. At 3x it sits a long march away. That distance, squad, that's what your boring little leverage number just bought you. Most recruits click and then find out what they own. You just read your entire position in 10 seconds. That's the difference between a tourist and a soldier. Before we move, read them back, squad. Entry, size, mark, liquidation, 4 numbers, 10 seconds. Own those 4 and the trade never owns you. Positions open, quick formation check. If this briefing is keeping you alive out there, subscribe and fall in with the squad. And the DeFi Warlord's home base is open, link below. The wasteland's easier in a convoy. Back to your screen, we're not done, and neither is the market. Now the rule that separates accounts that grow old from accounts that make the highlight reel. The exit is decided before the entry hurts. 2 lines. Set them now, while your head is cold, because the market's whole job is to make it hot. Line 1, the stop loss. Ours goes in at 95,000 sim numbers. If price marches down there, the screen surrenders the trade for you, takes the small hit, keeps the stack. About 15 sim dollars on our size. It stings. Stings heal. Liquidation doesn't. Line 2, the take profit. Ours at 110. If price climbs there, the screen banks it. No greed, no one more candle, no staring at the chart at 3 a.m. like it's going to blink first. Shield below, payday above. Your trade now runs on rules instead of feelings, and feelings, squad, are the most expensive thing on this screen. Getting in was easy. Getting out is where accounts die. Fat fingers, panic clicks, doubling a position you meant to close. Exits are where the wasteland collects. So we exit like professionals. Reduce only, the checkbox from the briefing. On, it can only shrink the position. Fumble the click and it just declines. Still the cheapest bodyguard in the game. And we don't leave in one jump, we scale out. Half now. Half the trade banked 2 sim dollars. Nobody's buying a fortress with that, not the mission. The mission was the reps, now the rest. Position 0. Stack. Intact, a hair heavier, and hear me squad. If that number had been small and red, tonight would count exactly the same. You sized it so a loss was tuition, not a funeral. You marked the cliff. You exited on rules. Flat, tiny, and alive on your first trade. That's not a pass. That's a victory march. Full debrief. You read the 4 zones. You sized before you aimed. You fenced it isolated, kept the slider boring, read your dog tags, set the shield and the payday, and walked out on your own terms. One rule before you move out, same as it ever was. Survive first. The size is the strategy. Next briefing, the graduation course. The mistakes that empty accounts and the rules that don't. Revenge trades, overtrading, the whole casualty list. That's part 3. The full intel lives on the DeFi Warlord Forge. That's the briefing, squad. Stay sharp out there. Subscribe. Turn bell notifications on. Join our DeFi Warlord's home base, link in the description. And salute to the squad.